If you're planning a trip to Japan, then chances are you're going to be spending a lot of time in Kyoto, and for very good reason, because Kyoto honestly is one of the most beautiful cities in Japan.
But there's a lot of things we wish we knew before visiting Kyoto, and knowing these 17 things beforehand would have made our trip so much easier.
Number 1, wake up early to beat the crowds. One thing that you'll quickly realize when you're in Kyoto is that every single day you'll need to wake up as early as possible to beat the crowds, because if you don't, it can get incredibly overcrowded in the most popular temples and shrines. We're talking Kiyomizu-dera, Fushimi Inari Taisha,
Arashiyama Bamboo Forest, and the most iconic streets like Ninenzaka and Sanenzaka.
So like, to really enjoy these places, you want it to be, it's never going to be just completely quiet, but you want to go there when it's like a comfortable amount of people. Otherwise, it can just quickly overwhelm your whole experience with the number of tour groups and people taking pictures and, people with tripods. And so we recommend waking up as early as possible. We would say that depends on the person, but we would recommend 6 a.m. and then be out by 7 a.m.
Yes.
Because you also need to get to these places. And so we'll be talking about transport and actually how big Kyoto is.
But essentially, we recommend to get to places by 8 a.m.
By 8 a.m. because the tour groups come by 9 a.m. And you'll be surprised how many domestic tour groups there are with school children and like tour groups. And then we're coming into it and it's just a bit chaotic. So definitely wake up early as soon as you can to beat the crowds. Number 2, Kyoto is much more spread out than people expect.
Something that genuinely surprised us about Kyoto is how spread out all the main attractions actually are. When you first look at Kyoto on a map, it almost feels compact and easy to get around. But in reality, the major temples, shrines, and sightseeing areas are spread all across the city. For example, Kyoto Station is located in the south and is where most tourists first arrive. Then on the eastern side of Kyoto, you've got famous areas like Kiyomizu-dera, Ninenzaka, Sanenzaka, and Gion. Slightly further south from there is Fushimi Inari Taisha, famous for the thousands of red torii gates. In central Kyoto, you've got downtown Kyoto and Nishiki Market, which is one of the city's most famous food markets. But then, on the complete opposite side of the city, in western Kyoto, you've got Arashiyama, famous for the bamboo forest, traditional streets, and river area. And up in the northwest of Kyoto is Kinkakuji, also known as the Golden Pavilion. So even though these places might not look that far apart on a map, getting between them can honestly take quite a lot of time. For example, Kyoto Station to Arashiyama usually takes around 40 to 50 minutes depending on connections. Kyoto Station to Kinkakuji can also easily take around 40 minutes or more because there's no direct train. So honestly, when planning your Kyoto itinerary, don't underestimate travel times, because Kyoto is much bigger and more spread out than most people expect.
Number 3, get an IC card from Kyoto Station. If you don't know what an IC card is, essentially it's a transportation card that you can use across Japan. Now, people do use it for convenience stores, and also vending machines, but most people are going to use it for transportation. Now, if you haven't picked an IC card up when you arrived into the airport, for example, if you arrived into Tokyo, you would have got yourself a Suica card. If you arrived into Osaka, you would have got yourself the Ikoka card. This is a really important card to have because it's going to make your life so much easier when you're taking transport. But don't worry, if you haven't picked it up yet, then you can get it from Kyoto Station. So if you're going from Osaka with a rapid express train into Kyoto Station, or if you're taking the Shinkansen from Tokyo, this is the place where you can pick up an IC card, the Ikoka card. There'll be an area where people are selling, or where there's a machine selling tickets. Also, they sell these IC cards in the same area, and you can just simply go and buy one. You'll have to use cash. You can't use card, can you?
Yeah,
you
can't.
So you'll need cash to buy the Ikoka card, and you can also top up the IC card with cash as well at the station. So this is going to help you with taking the transport around Japan. We've just spoken about how spread out Kyoto is. It is huge, and getting from one place to the other can take a long time. The IC card card is going to be so incredibly useful for when you're taking this transportation. Number 4, getting around Kyoto can be frustrating. So you might be surprised to hear that the most popular form of transport around Kyoto is actually by bus. And the bus system in Kyoto can be really frustrating. For one, they usually don't always turn up on time. And when they do turn up on time, they are incredibly busy and overcrowded because not only are the locals using the bus system, but also the tourists. So in the tourist areas, these buses just get overloaded with people.
Yeah, so not only you need to wake up early, then you get to the bus, which is full of people. You're basically being squeezed.
Standing up for like even 30 minutes at a time.
So by the time you actually get to your temple or attraction, like you're already tired.
Now there is a metro system, but it is more limited to certain areas of Kyoto, more like around Kyoto Station, downtown area. But it really depends on where you base yourself in Kyoto, which we're going to be coming on at a later point. Where is the best places to base yourself? Because things like transport and walking distances make a big difference.
And you need to be strategic.
And also, if you're going to Arashiyama, which most people will be, to go to the bamboo forest and the area around it is very nice, this is extremely popular. And you'll be taking either a train over there, that's what we did, but again, waking up super early and getting onto the train, and because it takes actually a fair amount of time to get over there, we'd actually suggest potentially getting a taxi. So you can download Go Taxi, or you can use Uber. Uber is available in Japan, but Go Taxi is what everyone uses, the locals, and that's what we use. And this is a great option because even though it costs more, and you're coming to Japan, you spent all this money, and you're having to get up super early, just like spend sometimes that extra bit of money to take the taxi there. It's going to give you that energy back. It's going to save you time. So if you have the budget, then actually taking taxis around Kyoto can be energy efficient, time efficient,
and very convenient.
but just not as cost efficient. And actually getting also to Kinkakuji Temple, the golden pavilion. Beautiful temple. A lot of people tend to put it off the itinerary just because it's so far away. Well, you can solve that problem by taking a Uber or a Go Taxi. Number 5, don't visit Kyoto without an eSIM. One thing we massively underestimated before visiting Kyoto was how much we rely on our phones literally every single day. Because Kyoto's most famous tourist areas are spread all over the city, you'll constantly be using Google Maps to check bus routes, which metro lines to take, and which trains to catch from Kyoto Station for day trips to Nara, Uji, or even Osaka. And since you end up doing so much walking in Kyoto, you'll also be relying heavily on walking directions between attractions throughout the day. It's also incredibly useful for things like ordering Go Taxis or Ubers if you do decide to go further out to places like Arashiyama or Kinkakuji by taxi. Google Translate is also incredibly useful not only in Kyoto but across Japan, as a lot of signs, menus, especially in smaller local restaurants and stores, are only in Japanese. Even simple things like ordering food or communicating with locals become so much easier when you have data throughout the day. That's why we always recommend using an eSIM. If you haven't used one before, it's basically a digital SIM card you install on your phone in seconds. You simply activate it when you land in Japan and you're connected straight away. No hunting for SIM shops at the airport or swapping physical SIM cards, which honestly makes arriving so much less stressful. The eSIM we personally use and recommend for Japan is SIM Local, and after trying multiple options during our travels, it's honestly been the best experience we've had in Japan. SIM Local partners directly with au by KDDI, Japan's #1 ranked mobile network for download speeds, and au plans are unlimited, which honestly makes a huge difference when you're constantly using Google Maps, Google Translate, and other travel apps throughout the day. They also offer a 100% refund policy, so if your travel plans change or you no longer need the eSIM, getting a refund is really straightforward. Plus, they have a super useful Find My Plan tool that helps you choose the best option for your trip. They also offer 24/7 customer support through multiple channels, including WhatsApp, email, and phone support, and they're rated 4.5 stars on Trustpilot, which honestly gives you a lot of reassurance when traveling abroad. So if you're planning a trip to Kyoto, or honestly anywhere else in Japan, this is genuinely one of the best things to sort out before your flight. It will save you a huge amount of stress once you arrive. Just scan the QR code on screen or use the link in the description to check out SimLocal's Japan plans, and don't forget to use our code JKarolina for 5% off. Number 6, where is the best place to stay in Kyoto? Choosing where to stay in Kyoto actually makes a huge difference to your trip, because as we've said, the city is much bigger and more spread out than most people expect. If you're visiting Kyoto for the first time, we personally recommend staying in downtown Kyoto. Areas around Karolina and Shijo are super central, plus really good transport connections, which makes getting around the city much easier. It's also one of the best areas if you want that balance between sightseeing and convenience, because you're still close to places like Gion, Nishiki Market, and a lot of Kyoto's main attractions. But if you want that more traditional Kyoto atmosphere you've probably seen online, then Gion and Higashiyama are definitely some of the most beautiful areas to stay. You'll be surrounded by traditional wooden houses, temples, shrines, and historic buildings, and especially in the early mornings or evenings, the whole area feels incredibly atmospheric and much more old-fashioned Kyoto. A lot of Kyoto's most famous sites are also nearby, including places like Yasaka Shrine, Kiyomizu-dera, and the traditional streets around Ninzaka and Sanonzaka, so you can actually walk to many of the city's most iconic areas straight from your hotel. It's definitely the best area if you want that more scenic, cultural, and traditional Kyoto experience. And if you're planning lots of day trips to places like Nara, Uji, or even Osaka, then staying near Kyoto Station is honestly one of the smartest options. It's by far the most convenient area for transport because you've got direct access to trains, buses, the bullet train, and even airport connections all in one place. And although Kyoto Station isn't right beside the main tourist attractions, it's still really easy to reach them. Places like Fushimi Inari are only a few minutes away by train, Arashiyama is accessible by a direct train, and buses from Kyoto Station connect you to areas like Gion and Higashiyama pretty easily as well. It also makes arriving and leaving Kyoto way less stressful, especially if you're traveling with luggage, because you don't need to constantly cross the city using buses or taxis. Number 7, book your hotels in Kyoto in advance. If there's one thing that you're going to take away from this video, please book your accommodation in advance in Kyoto, because people book their accommodation in Kyoto like almost a year in advance. Everyone wants to go to Kyoto. People want to spend majority of their trip in Kyoto. And so what that does, it means that the availability of the accommodation, there isn't actually that much accommodation in Kyoto. With how big it is actually very surprising, and it's all concentrated in these areas we said to you, the best places to base yourself in Kyoto, and this is the first accommodation to get booked up. And what will happen is the availability in these areas will just basically become non-existent, but also the prices will go through the roof, and to the point where you're gonna have to stay either really far outside of Kyoto, and then it's gonna be a pain to take the buses, as we've spoken about, or you will do what we did, because we tried to do a trip to Kyoto to spend a few days there. We actually ended up booking a hotel in Osaka, because the cost of the hotels are so much cheaper and there's so much availability, and it takes around an hour to get to Kyoto, so it's not that far away, but we highly recommend actually staying in Kyoto. So please book your accommodation in advance.
Especially when you're coming during the busiest seasons like cherry blossom or autumn season, because then it's going to be even a bigger problem. And one thing also to mention is that the hotels, or in general places to stay in Japan, are quite small. So expect to have like less space than you think.
Yeah, even if you spend, like we spent $350
for
per
a hotel.
night. It was called The Blossom. Great hotel, great location.
With an onsen.
If you have the budget, it was good, but the room size is small for how much you're paying, and we've paid even more budget prices, and it just gets smaller and smaller. Yeah. So yeah, just be aware of that, and please, guys, book your accommodation in advance for Kyoto. Number 8, how to get to Kyoto from Tokyo or Osaka. If you're traveling from Tokyo to Kyoto, the best option is taking the Tokaido Shinkansen bullet train. The journey takes around 2 hours and 15 minutes on the fastest Nozomi trains, departing from Tokyo Station or Shinagawa Station and arriving directly at Kyoto Station. A reserve seat usually costs roughly 14,500 Japanese yen. If you're traveling from Osaka to Kyoto, the cheapest and most common option is the JR Kyoto line from Osaka Station, which takes around 30 to 50 minutes depending on whether you're taking the special rapid or rapid service, and costs roughly 580 yen for both. And if you're arriving into Japan through Kansai International Airport, the most convenient option is the JR Haruka Express train, which connects the airport directly to Kyoto Station in around 1 hour and 15 minutes. A reserve seat usually costs roughly 2,800 Japanese yen. Number 9, people's biggest Japan regret is not spending more time in Kyoto. Trust me, guys, you won't regret booking more nights in Kyoto. The biggest mistake that I've seen people say, especially when you're going through online forums like Reddit, every single time it is, I wish I spent more time in Kyoto. And so if you're coming on like the Golden Route for 2 weeks, usually people spend around 4 or 5 nights in Kyoto.
Definitely don't rush Kyoto, because if you are trying to squeeze in all of the temples, food spots, and maybe shopping in Kyoto within 2 or 3 days, you're going to
be overwhelmed
and stressed.
We did that. We literally came for 3 days thinking, oh, it's it's a small place, Kyoto. It's this kind of cultural village, and like we said, it's massive. It's so big. Even just taking public transport is going to take up so much of your time. And also, coming onto like this, waking up super early and being overwhelmed with like the transport and being overwhelmed in the temples and shrines, that will happen. Nishiki Market is a narrow kind of arcade. Yeah. And it's just so overwhelming. And that's going to happen. So having more days in Kyoto will just kind of spread that across multiple days. You'll have time to actually enjoy Kyoto, not be overwhelmed. So don't be afraid to spend more time in Kyoto. You won't regret it. Number 10, use Tabelog to find the best food spots. So when you come to Japan, most of you, including ourselves, would use Google Maps to find the best places to eat. Well, actually, the best place to actually look for these places is an app called Tabelog. Now, Tabelog used to be in Japanese, so it used to be a lot more difficult to actually translate everything. But now it's in English. So when you use the desktop version, or you can have the mobile app version, you can use Tabelog. Now, the difference between that and Google Maps is that Google Maps is often used by mostly foreigners and people from Western countries, and so it's not properly rated according to Japanese people. Who would be the best person to rate it?
Yeah, and actually, interestingly, on Tabelog, if you have 3.5, it's already good.
It's very good.
And you will rarely find even 4.0. And
that's like Michelin star 4. You can imagine 4 out of 5 is Michelin star quality.
Yeah, the Japanese know their food very well, and they're quite strict when it comes to the rating. So when you go to the place, which is like around 3.5.
3, even 3. Like 3 is good. Like, it's kind of crazy, right? 3 is actually good. 3.5 is like really good, and 4 is like getting up to like that Michelin star quality. And so you can actually use Tabelog to search in your local area or in different cities
and go through the categories of food, and it's really easy now in English.
And you can actually browse all the different types of Japanese food. So it's really good because you probably don't have like knowledge of all the things you should eat. So it's a really great place to look for the best food spots around you. Number 11, our top food recommendations in Kyoto.
Kyoto honestly has so many amazing food spots, but here are a few places we personally really enjoyed during our trip. One of our favorite casual meals was at Curry and Tempura Geishas, which became popular for its crispy tempura served with rich Japanese curry and different spices, even matcha salt. Honestly, such a comforting meal after walking around Kyoto all day. Another place we really loved was Gion duck rice, famous for its beautifully presented duck hitsumabushi style rice sets. You eat the duck over rice in different stages, first on its own, then with seasonings like yuzu and sansho pepper, and finally with warm dashi poured over the top at the end. If you're into matcha, we also really like Totaro, which is this cozy matcha cafe inside a traditional wooden machiya townhouse. They serve incredible matcha drinks and freshly made mochi desserts, and honestly, it felt like such a peaceful start to the day. And this was another really nice local spot, which serves all sorts of Japanese comfort food. We would especially recommend the dashimaki set, featuring a soft, fluffy Japanese omelette with rice and small side dishes. Plus, the stuff was honestly so sweet. And of course, you can't visit Kyoto without exploring Nishiki Market, packed with seafood, fresh tuna nigiri, skewers, matcha sweets, and loads of Kyoto specialties.
Number 12, visit Kyoto's 100-year-old Starbucks.
Honestly, you will see Starbucks everywhere in Japan, but this one in Kyoto became famous for a completely different reason. It's located right on Ninenzaka near Kiyomizudera, so there's a very high chance you will walk past it while exploring the area. But what makes it special is that it's actually inside a renovated 100-year-old machiya, which is a traditional wooden Kyoto merchant's house. From the outside, it blends perfectly into the historic street, and once you step inside, it barely even feels like a normal Starbucks anymore. Upstairs, there are tatami seating areas where you sit on the floor in traditional Japanese style while enjoying your favorite cup of coffee. It does get very busy during the middle of the day, and the first time we visited Kyoto, we actually skipped it because the line looked too long. But honestly, it moves way faster than it looks, so it's definitely worth being a little more patient. It's honestly such a unique mix of modern coffee culture and traditional Kyoto atmosphere, which is exactly why it became one of the most famous Starbucks in Japan.
Number 13, it's illegal to take photos of geishas in Gion. So one thing that's really fascinating when you're walking around the Gion district in Kyoto is that you'll see geishas actually strolling around. It's very common. It's really well known in that particular district for geishas. And you might have watched memoirs of a geisha and you're like, this is my time, my opportunity to take a photo. Us too. We were so tempted to take, photos and videos. We're like, oh my god, like she's got like this white face
makeup.
and it really gets your attention. So the first thing you think is to take a photo, but actually it's illegal to take a photo and you can get a penalty, a fine, and you'll see signs saying don't take photos of the geishas because there has been instances where there's been some really silly tourists, getting in front of them, like trying to take photos and videos, and they're really protected in Kyoto and in Japan. And you might actually misunderstand what geishas actually do. They are entertainers, they are hosts, but they're highly skilled in conversation, in dance, and it's really an art form. And their job is to, usually with men, is to kind of charm them.
Yeah, and entertain them at the tea houses.
Yeah, not something that you might be thinking they do, because it can often be misunderstood. But when you are in that area, avoid taking photos of the geishas. Number 14, temples and shrines in Kyoto worth visiting that are not overrun with tourists.
Kyoto honestly has so many famous temples and shrines, but the reality is that a lot of the most popular ones can get completely overrun with tourists during the middle of the day. So if you still want that beautiful traditional Kyoto atmosphere, but somewhere that feels slightly more peaceful and less chaotic, here are a few places we would really recommend. One area we absolutely loved was the Philosopher's Path. This quiet canal-side walking path lined with trees, little cafes, and smaller temples along the way. Depending how slowly you walk and how many stops you make, it usually takes around 20 to 30 minutes and eventually leads you down towards Nanzenji. And honestly, it ended up being one of our favorite temple areas in Kyoto because the whole area feels way more peaceful and spacious compared to many of the city's busier spots. It's especially known for its huge wooden gate, beautiful temple grounds, and surrounding nature, which makes it such a relaxing place to slowly explore. Another place that really surprised us was Higashi Honganji. It's incredibly massive and impressive, yet somehow still feels overlooked by a lot of tourists. Plus, it's really easy to visit because it's close to Kyoto Station. And probably one of the most unique temples we have ever visited in Japan was Otagi Nenbutsuji, which is famous for its hundreds of little stone statues, and every single one has a completely different facial expression. It's located definitely more off the beaten path, but honestly, that's exactly what makes it feel so special.
Number 15, best day trips from Kyoto.
One of the easiest and most popular day trips from Kyoto is Nara, and it only takes around 30 to 40 minutes by a local train depending on where you're staying in Kyoto. Most people come here for Nara Park, which is famous for the hundreds of free roaming deer walking around the city. And honestly, they are everywhere. You will see them bowing to tourists for crackers, relaxing in the parks, and sometimes even chasing people for food.
Okay. Oh wow, they're all coming for it. Oh no!
And trust me, be a little more careful when feeding them because some of the deer can actually get surprisingly aggressive once they realize you have crackers in your hand. But there's actually much more to Nara than just the deer. One of the main places everyone visits is Todaiji, a huge historic temple that houses one of the largest bronze Buddha statues in the world. The building itself honestly feels massive when you walk inside. Another beautiful spot nearby is Kasuga Taisha, which is famous for its lantern-lined pathways and beautiful forest surroundings that make the whole area feel really atmospheric. And compared to cities like Kyoto or Osaka, Nara definitely feels much calmer and slower paced overall, which honestly makes it such a relaxing day trip. Another really popular day trip from Kyoto is Uji, which takes around 20 to 30 minutes by train from Kyoto Station. Uji is basically considered the birthplace of matcha in Japan, so if you love green tea, this place honestly feels like heaven. And genuinely, everything we tried here throughout the day was incredible. The town itself is actually pretty small, so most of your time will probably be spent exploring the two main streets, lined with little shops selling all kinds of matcha products, from tea and desserts to souvenirs and even full matcha flavored meals. Our first stop was this matcha tea house, which we specifically chose because it overlooks the river. We ordered a matcha tea latte, which was honestly one of the best we've ever had, along with their famous Maruto matcha drink, filled with matcha jelly, crumble, and cream on top. Then afterwards, we stopped by this tiny local matcha shop run by the sweetest older couple, where we bought some matcha tea and even got little tastings while choosing which one to take home. And in between all the food stops, one of the main places people visit here is Boido Inn, a beautiful temple famous for appearing on the Japanese 10-yen coin. The gardens around it were honestly stunning and felt really peaceful compared to Kyoto. There's also a really beautiful river area running through Uji, which makes the whole town feel super calm and relaxing to walk around. For lunch, we went to this store and tried matcha soba, thin Japanese buckwheat noodles infused with green tea, giving them a slight matcha flavor and green color. They were served as a part of a set with crispy tempura vegetables and prawns, and honestly, it felt like such a unique meal you can really only properly experience in Uji. And of course, you can't leave Uji without trying matcha ice cream, especially on a hot day. So I went for an Uji matcha ice cream topped with freshly sprinkled matcha powder, while Jay chose the Hojicha version, which is a roasted green tea flavor with a much deeper, slightly nuttier taste and a brownish color. Honestly, Uji is one of those places that's perfect for a slower and more relaxing half-day trip from Kyoto.
Number 16, Kyoto Station comes to life at nighttime. Most tourists only really use Kyoto Station for trains and don't think much about it afterwards, but at night the whole place honestly becomes one of the coolest modern spots in Kyoto. The station itself has this huge futuristic design with giant steel beams, long escalators, glass skywalks, and massive open spaces running through the middle of the building. One of the best things to do is simply keep taking the escalators higher through the station, because eventually you'll reach the famous illuminated staircase where around 15,000 LED lights create different moving patterns and seasonal animations at nighttime. There's also a free skywalk and observation areas at the top overlooking Kyoto Tower and the city skyline, which most tourists completely skip. Number 17, visit Kyoto's 100-year-old traditional sweet shop.
The Machi Futaba is this tiny traditional sweet shop in Kyoto that's been serving handmade mochi for generations, and the whole place honestly feels like stepping back in time. It's quite popular, so expect a line, but while you're queuing, you can literally watch the staff constantly preparing new batches and carefully packing the mochi fresh by hand. It feels very local, very traditional, and completely different to the modern dessert cafes you usually see online. They are especially famous for their signature mame daifuku, soft fresh mochi filled with sweet red bean paste and salted beans, which gives it this really nice balance of sweet and salty flavors. Honestly, every time we come back to Kyoto, we always end up stopping here because one of our favorite things to do is grab a few mochi from here and then walk down to the nearby Kamo River to eat them there, which is honestly one of the nicest walks in Kyoto.
We really hope that you have the most incredible time in Kyoto. I promise you, we promise you that all the things that we've spoken about is going to ensure that you have a smooth, stress-free experience. We also have so many videos from Japan, very informative, very educational, that we're going to link in the description below. You can see on our channel. That's going to help you to have the most incredible time, not just in Kyoto, but also in Japan. And with that being said, don't forget to subscribe, and we'll see you guys in the
Next video!
Oh, that's a long one.